What I want to talk about today is lavender. And I get a lot of questions, and I'm going to try to wrap several questions together into one thing. We're going to talk about which part of the plant do we use, right? Which part do we use? Which part do we not use? When do you harvest which part? And again, I get asked this a lot. And so I get asked, like, do you only use the flowers? Can you use the leaves? And when do you harvest which one? And so that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so let's start with when you harvest which part of the plant. So the thing is that with any plant, you have to figure out, like, are you going to harvest the root? Are you going to harvest the leaf? Are you going to harvest the flower or the seed, right? And whenever you're going to harvest that part of the plant, you want most of the energy to be in the part of the plant that you're going to harvest, okay? So with lavender, if you're going to harvest the flowers, you want the energy to be peak in the flower. So one of the things I get asked is like, hey, Cami, can I just let the flower dry on the plant and then harvest it once it's dry? No, the answer to that is no. And so you can see in these, they're already starting to dry. Can you see that? So so these are actually not at their optimum state anymore. The flowers, the little flowers, have actually already dried out. So no, you don't want to let the flowers dry on the plant. You want to harvest the plant when the flower is in its peak. And you can see this right here. Can you see this? It's like there's little tiny flowers popping all out, and the energy is in the flower. And so that's when you want to harvest the flower, okay? You don't let it dry and then harvest it. And so the thing is that if you want to use the flower, this is the time to harvest it. Now, the thing is that lavender is so amazing that the leaves are highly medicinal also, okay? So these leaves, I use the leaves all the time for teas, for steams, for home fumigation. On my website over at CamiMcBride.com, I have video tutorials for steam, home fumigation, herbal teas, herbal washes, all kinds of things. So today we're not going to talk about the actual medicine making techniques, but we're going to I'm talking about which part of the plant you can use and when you harvest that plant. So the thing is that yes, you can use the leaves, okay? So here's the thing, lavender is a little bit different than a lot of plants because, like I said earlier, remember, if we want the flower, we want the energy to be in the flower, and that's the part of the plant. Can you smell it? Take a whiff. But lavender's aromatics are so strong. The antimicrobial, the antispasmodic properties are so strong that we break the rules a little bit, okay? So that even if the plant's going to flower and most of the energy is in the flower, we can still harvest the leaf when the plant's going to flower, okay? And like I said, with most plants, you don't do that. You harvest the flower when the energy's in the flower. You harvest the leaf when the energy before it goes to flower. But we can get away with harvesting the leaf and the flower of the lavender, even when the lavender is going to flower. Does that make sense? And it's because we're after these incredible aromatics that they're headed straight into the flower, but they're still in the leaf, right? So you can harvest the leaf. Now, you don't harvest the leaf all the way down. Here's the rule of thumb of what I do. Okay, so I take these stems, I take the lavender stems, and I harvest actually the leaf, the flower, and the stem. And what I do is when the stem is still kind of bendy, I use that part of the stem. But so see, I can bend this and it doesn't crack. But once it gets down to where it cracks, that's too woody. All right. So did you see that? What I did is see this, the stem is kind of bendy and it doesn't crack. And then when we get down here, it just kind of cracks. And so what that means is I use from here to here. I will use the stem, the leaf, and the flower. And then I don't use this woody part down here for my medicine making, for the oils, salves, just anything that I don't use this part. So again, I use the stem, the flexible part of the stem, the upper part of the stem, the upper leaves, and the flower, okay? So I hope that makes sense. And so, yeah, you don't want to use this woody part. And so, yeah, again, and then after it goes to flower and, um, then the energy starts going back down on the plant, or before it flowers, I will use my lavender. I have leaves all year long. So I will use these leaves all year long in my bath, in my oils, in my salve, in my steams, my home fumigation. And there's just kind of a myth that you have to have the flower, and you don't. You don't only have to have the flowers. The leaf is amazing. The leaf is amazing. And like I said, I use the leaf in, the flowers are short-lived here where I live. They're here and then they're gone, right? But these leaves, that's what I love about lavender, is that these leaves all year long are in my bathtub. They're in my steam to help clear my lungs and heal my sinuses. And this is uh, so you don't have to have the flowers. Of course, I love the flowers. They're beautiful. They're a little bit more aromatic, but you can use the leaf, these upper leaves, all year round, depending on where you live and what your climate is. So I actually have Morning Sun Herb Farm is a nursery near us, and she has over 50 varieties of lavender. So at this point, I don't even know what's in my garden, but I use lavender angustifolia, and that is the English lavender. And there are literally whole lavender societies, and there are hundreds of kinds of Lavendula angustifolias. Um, and it's just a really good hardy lavender. It does a little bit better when it's cold. What I do with these lower stems, so I'll just even just these lower leaves that can go into a bath. But I take these lower stems and see, I don't have any right here, and I wrap them with string, and I make these as offerings, or I start fire with them, or I put these little bundles in a drawer. So I'll even use the lower stems. Like I said, I take them and I make little stick bundles, because I just can't throw any part of the plant away. So I make little stick bundles with string and beads, and I use those as offerings, and or I wrap them when I wrap a gift, I'll put them on a gift, something like that. It's really, yeah. But so that's the way I use all of the plant. But when it comes to making the pillows, I actually use the flower and the upper leaf, because herbal pillows are very powerful. On my blog at CammieMcBride.com, if you punch in the word craft, I have a whole what I call my craft corner there, and we make herbal pillows in that. It's a free little herbal crafting mini kind of video course, and we make pillows in there. And I love herbal pillows. They're such amazing medicine. I love making lavender sachets. Lavender sachets are amazing. You put them in your drawer. I keep them in my car. I put them, they're just, yeah, lavender. There's many, many different kinds of medicine. So you want to harvest it when the flower is in peak. Or whatever part of the plant that you're going to use, you want to harvest when the energy and its peak in that part. But again, with lavender, we can get away with harvesting the leaf and the flower at the same time, because there's just so much aromatic medicine in the leaf, even though the peak energy is in the flower, right? Over the years, I started just like, what do I do with all these stems? I had all these rosemary stems. I wish I had some right here to show you. They're not here. I'd have to run and get them. The rosemary stems, the mint stems, the lavender stems, and I started just wrapping them, making little, and you can see that over on my blog. And people love them. You get some pretty embroidery thread, and they just are these, for me, they're offerings. They're like a craft that I do, that I think about, and I think good thoughts, and I say my prayers when I'm wrapping them. And so, like, some people offer tobacco or whatever to the plants, and I offer these little stick bundles. Just what I came up with. Again, I don't grow it from cuttings or seed. I have an amazing nursery near me that has all kinds of lavender. I go buy the lavender plant, I put it in the ground. And okay, so this is the best time to plant the lavender is actually in the fall, early fall, because it's a perennial, right? And so your perennials, you want to get them in the ground when there's still some warmth left in the early fall. And so they're not fried by the summer sun. and you just keep them, really take care of them that fall, and overwinter them if you need to cover them depending on what zone you're in. And then in the spring they really come in. So yeah. Yeah, so that's again, that's a question that I get a lot, like, oh, can I really use the leaf? And especially in my herbal oils class, people are always asking me, does lavender leaf make a good oil? And it does. It does. It's an incredible oil that we can make for pain, for as an antispasmodic, anti-inflammatory. And so I have little bundles of dried lavender, right, that I keep in a bag in a drawer, so that it's not exposed to light, or, I hang it on my wall for decoration. um, and you just keep it dry, and then you can put it into your tea, put it into your steams. Lavender is really one of the main herbs I use to home fumigate and to steam my house with during, whatever, when people are not well, or just during different seasons. And so, or after I burn something on the stove, like, oh, time to fumigate so the house doesn't smell like burnt rice, right? Oh, okay. That's it. I just wanted to do this little tutorial on which part of the plant to use, which part. And again, the part that I don't use is this lower. Once that stem starts cracking, it's like it's too woody. So yeah.